This is the VIP Podcast, Virginia in Politics. Let's listen to host Chris Saxman explore the personalities and policies that connect the Commonwealth. The VIP Podcast is brought to you by the VCTA, Broadband Association of Virginia, and Virginia Free. The views and opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the VCTA and Virginia Free or our sponsors.
All right, this is Chris Saxman back on the VIP Podcast. That's Virginia in Politics. But as we all know, VIP also stands for Very Important People. And we have a brand new VIP here at the VIP Podcast, Delegate Ellen Campbell. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
It's great to have you in the studio.
Well, thank
you.
you.
You come from my home place.
We do. We came from the same hometown.
You're from Stanton?
I'm from Augusta County.
Augusta County, whereabouts?
Verona.
Fort Defiance Indian?
That's right.
Okay.
Go Indians.
Go Indians. I didn't realize you were from Verona.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of like the short pump of Stanton.
It is.
For those of you playing at home on the board version of the VIP Podcast, you're here. You ran a special election after the unfortunate passing of your late husband Ronnie, whose birthday is today.
Whose birthday is today?
Super Sky's point. My mother's birthday is Valentine's Day, so it's always those bittersweet, sad day, but also a good day to remember.
Yeah.
The wonderful memories. Tell us about Ronnie, if you can.
Sure.
And your decision to run after he passed.
Well, so in April of 2021, Ronnie was diagnosed with mesothelioma, which is not a curable cancer. But we received a lot of good advice, and the best doctors, experts. Actually, just in February of 2021, the FDA had approved a new line of treatment as a first line of defense, and that was immunotherapy. And so we started immunotherapy immediately, and he responded very well. And really, he had about 17 months of, you can't call it remission because it's still cancer, but he really had good 17 months. And he knew that, with his health and the things that, he would be facing in the future, that he was not going to run again after this year. So this would have been his last year.
Okay.
And we had talked a lot about, what could happen in the future, what the future would look like. He loved being a part of this body. And we both enjoyed really being able to do the work together, to serve the constituents. So it was something that we had talked about for the future, for next year. Certainly I had no idea that it would happen the way that it did, but.
Well, every time I talk to you, since when that all occurred back at the end of the last year, coming from my home area, I took an interest, obviously, in the situation, the race, and knowing your previous employer is a very dear friend of mine, Butch Smiley. Yeah. I felt sort of a kinship immediately to it, having never met you until now, this morning. I think you've handled it with remarkable grace. The whole time, every time I've spoken with you, you seem to have this level of peace and grace about you.
Thank you.
Do you sense that about yourself?
Well, I have a very strong faith. And,
okay.
If you had talked to me in April of 2021, I didn't have a lot of grace about the situation. I certainly didn't have any peace. But, when you're faced with situations like these, we just put our trust and our faith in God. We always had hope. They can tell you, the doctors can tell you anything, but God has the final word.
Right.
And I can remember the night that I took Ronnie to the emergency room and that we got home, and I got the bad news that, he was not going to make it according to the doctors. And so I remember that night praying, and I felt the presence of God, and I felt him say, he will be well. Now, I knew in my heart that didn't necessarily mean the well that I wanted. Right. But he is well. I miss him every day.
Sure. Just been 2 months.
Yeah.
And thank you for your service. You said when we first started talking, you really were co-delegates. You were side by side during his tenure. But talk about now your transition, because you're now Delegate Campbell, literally. Actually,
yeah.
Delegate Campbell, and you won a special election. You come down to Richmond right after the passing of your husband, and this is a maelstrom. You're right into the mix of this thing, and you've got all these bills, and you've never experienced, probably more so than than most people who have done this for the first time, but short session's really intense.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have all the other stuff coming in, how have you been able to strike that balance?
Well, so honestly, I think, coming in, had I not been here for the years that I was here with Ronnie and experienced all of this.
So you would come down?
Yes.
Okay.
Even as an outsider, per se, looking in.
Sure.
I guess I had a bit of a unique perspective in that I somewhat understood what was going on. I will tell you, watching it and doing it are two very different things.
Well, let's talk about that difference. What have you experienced because this is one of the reasons we do the VIP podcast, is to get people to know it a little bit more intimately than you otherwise would have. That's why we go pretty deep in our conversations. And they've been very revealing. So tell us about the difference between understanding it and then actually doing it.
Well, I'd say the first moment of truly understanding and really feeling the awe of what was happening was at the swearing-in ceremony. I was there for Ronnie's swearing-in ceremony, and watching it was one of the greatest, most rewarding experiences for both of us. He was participating, but watching it. But then to have your own swearing-in ceremony, where you feel the weight truly of what you're getting ready to do to represent, your constituency. I mean, it's a very humbling and awe-inspiring moment. So I think that was the first day, that really set the tone. And then, I've been really struck by the kindness and the graciousness of everyone in the body. People have been remarkably compassionate, offering to help in any way they can, and that's from both sides of the aisle. I mean, this
that's good.
And so many people have come to me, particularly those that were on the other side of the aisle, and said, we didn't always see eye to eye, but I had such great respect for your husband, and I'm really glad you're here. And
well, that's nice.
Those kind of things, really have meant a lot.
And I'm sure it provides you with a sense of comfort.
It does.
That while it's really important, everyone knows and is being very human in that moment to say, we're here to help you, but we're still going to vote against you.
Oh, sure.
Because I saw I went through your bill list this morning. I was like, well, that didn't go so well.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, you learn, and that's another thing that I learned. And I've always known that. I've been in business, so I've working out in the, the public and the private sector. So. You can't take everything personally, but we don't have to agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. Some of the nicest folks that I've met, we don't agree on a lot of things, but they're good people. They're down here doing what they think that they need to do and what they were elected to do. Right. So you have to have a mutual respect for that.
Well, I think it's remarkable that you're able to do all this, given what you've been through, and understand and have this balance of perspective and decency about the place, because people don't look at politics quite that way. They've got to do their own things and they run their own shops and trying to pass their own bills. But when they look up and go, oh, this is time to put that aside. And they do put it aside very quickly. And that's, I think, what's lost in our politics is our humanity.
I would certainly agree to that statement. And, that's something that, I'm really optimistic about that. I see a lot of reason to be hopeful because I see a lot of that in dealing with the people. And perhaps it's because of the circumstances that I came in.
Sure.
I think it gives us all pause to say, wait, some things are more important.
Yeah.
And that, there are, we talk about this a lot. There are 85% of the things that come through this body we agree on. There are 15% that we do not, and we may never.
Right.
But if you think about it from that perspective, we have much more in common than we have that divides us.
And that's so true, because when you look at what comes across nationally, everything's divided. And all this stuff you see in the press is about the 15%. You don't see all the bills that come through are unanimous. And I'll tell you one that I passed. I think it was 2006. It was on clean air emissions. And it was a very controversial bill. Jack Reed carried it, and I put a version in that I thought was going to pass. And then it did pass, and it was going to pass, and it didn't make a lot of press because we passed it unanimously.
Right.
And I thought it was a great accomplishment, and I rolled it back into Jack's bill so he could get credit for it because he's the one who won the argument.
Right.
My legislation just got it done. And I didn't need the credit, didn't want the credit. It's not about it. It was about clean air, and that was the most important thing. But no one ever talked about it.
Well,
it wasn't a fight.
Right.
You know, that's so revealing in our politics. If it's not controversial, it doesn't make the press.
Well, and maybe not so much in my view revealing of our politics, but more revealing, honestly, of unfortunately of media in general, right?
Yeah.
That what gets people's attention. The things that sell, the salacious stories, the dog fights that happen.
Right.
That's what people tune in for. So
Right.
it's not that the things that we do that go unseen and unheard are not important, because most of them are incredibly important. But people want...
People aren't going to fight over clean air.
No.
They agree on
Well,
it.
they shouldn't. That's
They
right.
should. So that's, because it was like people were up there at the podium they were supposed to be opposed to this, and they're like, we kind of think this is a pretty good bill.
Right. That's right.
And then, so there wasn't any. So, but anyway, if it bleeds, it leads. That's the old mantra in media, and
But I think that's a dangerous mantra. I think if you look at how divided we are, as a country, that is not a positive posture to take.
Now, it got so bad 12 years ago, we had the kids out on the back porch, Michelle and I did, and we said, what would you want in the world? And William, who is now 27, so this is about 15 years ago. Gosh, I can't believe how long it's been. Oh, and he said, I would like to have a news service that reported nothing but positive news. Mm-hmm. This is a kid who's wasn't even 12 at the time.
Yeah.
You imagine that?
Think about that.
Just let that sink in, that this kid at that age, I think he's 10 or 12 years old, so this is about 15, 17 years ago.
We're getting older and older.
So he started his own blog, and his name is William, and he's called Weewa. It was Weewa News.
Weewa News.
Weewa is all about positive news. But thank you for your perspective and your grace at this time, very difficult time, especially in American political history. But you're not stopping there.
No.
You're running for re-election.
I am. And
tell us about that journey.
Well, so I'm running for re-election, but I'm actually running for a new district.
Right.
So, and truthfully, this was the intended idea originally before Ronnie passed. We had no idea that he was going to pass in December and not be able to finish his term. I mean,
right.
I'm sure you've heard, he was literally the week of his passing, he was working with folks down here to make sure that his bills were in order and that things would carry on, and that he would be ready to be here come January. So
it was that sudden.
It was very sudden.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've decided to run for the new 36th. You're in the 24th, and you won't be alone.
No, I won't be alone.
You have an opponent.
I do.
But let's talk about your race and what you're looking at, and how your perspective of being a legislator down here in this quick period that you're in, and now you're running for re-election at the same time.
Well, I would think about that quite often, actually, and it's funny how it sounds daunting to folks, but know from being in the role here,
sure.
You're always running.
Sure.
It's a 2-year turnaround, and so you don't ever really stop running.
No.
And so since 2018, I've been running with Ronnie,
okay.
every year, so it doesn't feel that unusual. But I think it's important. I think that the people of the new district deserve to have a very conservative representative. I think that if you look at the dynamic and the demographic there, it's a very strong Republican. Conservative area, and I do believe that I'm certainly qualified to do that for them.
And your decision to run, there's another incumbent down here.
Yes.
Delegate John Avoli.
That's right.
From Stanton and Augusta County.
A good friend, I might add.
Yeah, it makes it, but didn't stop you.
No.
Tell me about that. Why didn't it stop? Why didn't you go, done enough? John's here. I know John, he's a good friend. What is the driving force? I think this is a really important element to people going, okay, what else? Because there's a point at which you kind of go, okay, it's been a difficult journey, but she's not stopping there, which I think is impressive.
Well, thank you. Well, so again, remember, it was never my intent to finish Ronnie's term.
Right.
It was always my intent to run for my own term, so that I could, continue the good work that he did.
So going in, you weren't just filling out his term. You were going, okay, and that was the intent all along.
Well,
I wasn't aware of that.
So I probably didn't phrase that exactly right. I didn't expect for Ronnie to not be here this year. So I never planned.
So he was going to run.
He wasn't going to run, but he was going to finish this term.
Okay.
And then the next time around, we had talked about the fact that I would run and he would be a great support to me, so so the decision to do this in my mind had already been made.
You were going to run. He was going to not run, and you were going to run.
Right.
Oh. Okay.
I didn't articulate that very well, did I?
It takes a while. I'm not that bright.
That's okay.
I'm not that bright. It's early.
I usually need the crayon version of everything,
I
so
definitely
it's fine.
need crayon versions some days. Okay, so you were going to follow in his footsteps and run,
Right.
regardless. Wow. Okay, so what do you want to do? What's your platform? What are you forwarding so you go back to the constituency, say, if you send me back, I'm going to do this. What is this?
Well, Ronnie and I are very aligned in our views and our morals and our values. So certainly all the same things that were important to him are important to me. Our safety in the community. Public safety is a very important thing. It's important for all of us.
Sure.
Education is critically important. We've gotten a lot of attention in education right now, but we have always firmly believed, and I think a lot of the constituency believes, that we really just need to get back to the basics in education. We need to teach our kids, how to critically think and not necessarily tell them what to think.
Right.
Economic development, in our area particularly, in the new district also, but in the district that I'm covering now, that was always been a really important part of this. We need to make sure that we have some really important and good opportunities for economic development.
Right.
And back to education, I think for a while we've had a lot of focus on four-year universities, which I'm an advocate for education. I think it's very
that part
important.
of the valley is chock full of higher education.
They are. But if you look at the mismatch of skills and jobs that we have available right now, I think that we've maybe done a disservice to our students by not focusing a little more on vocations and trades. Those are things that we need, and those are very well-paying jobs a lot of times. So those are the kinds of things, just trying to make sure that people have, a place that they can live and they can raise their families and they can, be safe.
Right. Well, it's a beautiful part of the world and wonderful people. And I think that workforce development legislation that the governor is putting through, which is monumental. People don't understand the depth and breadth of this. Again, to the point we had earlier, it's just not sexy.
No.
It's not controversial when you fix something and get it right.
That's exactly
right. And that's what Youngkin has done, Governor Glenn Youngkin has done this year with it. And it's tough to go, hey, workforce development. People go, okay, workforce.
Yeah.
It's just not very exciting.
Yeah.
But it's important to align those skills and those jobs, especially for folks in the valley, who, for most of them, a lot of them are from there. They're not. They went to the local high schools, or local community colleges, and they have to be right fitted for the jobs to have a very successful career there.
And another thing, you're exactly right. And another thing, as I'm sitting here thinking, I think I do have a desire to make sure that we do a little bit better job of supporting our ag industry. Ag is our number one driving economic factor in the Commonwealth, and
especially in Rockingham, Rockbridge, and Augusta counties. That's the bread basket.
That's right.
Or the chicken basket.
And yeah, the chicken basket. Well, and it's almost like what you said.
And turkeys.
And turkeys, yeah. And beef cattle.
And a lot of beef cattle and hay.
We could go on and on and on and on.
We could. I'm sure we have many friends.
We have llamas. We have it all. But, like to your point, it doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's critical. And if you look at, if you look at the through the pandemic, through the shortages, we have a lot of farmers that are leaving the industry, and they're not being replaced by a new generation. So think about that. That's our food source.
Yeah, that was an issue back in the district back when it was 20 years ago when I first ran.
And it was
a generational shift of not just wealth, but the actual management of the land, which is so important. Any movement in that sector towards more of the organic, higher value added crops that are farm to table? Is that happening more and more in the valley?
It's happening more and more, and I think also maybe a positive unintended consequence of the pandemic has brought that more to light, because folks are starting to see the value of being able to find what they need and going out into their community and getting it and sourcing it from their local farmers. So it's a really growing part of our ag industry.
Well, you've got some real dynamic people that, like Joel Salatin
Yes.
down in Middlebrook, who's doing fantastic work. He's internationally known for his work.
Yeah.
And restaurants in Stanton like the Shack, they're starting to become sort of vibrant in not just they're nationally known stuff from the valley, but is there an economy behind that, and can it be supported? And if so, how so? I mean, I think that's a great opportunity for you to go out and start talking to me. Like, how can we accentuate the ag industry here and really develop those, frankly, more profitable crops?
Well, we can do that, and the crop part has not popped into my head as we're having this conversation, but this did, and sometimes you'll learn that my brain works a little like Swiss cheese, so I will just point this out to you. One big issue that we're facing right now in our area is we don't have enough processing facilities.
Oh, yeah.
And so, give you an example, we bought half a beef, but it took a year to be able to find a place that would process it. So, we didn't buy it and hold it for a year, but,
I understand.
Those are the types of things that I think, not just, producers in terms of, producing the food, but there are business opportunities that are there for people to come in and open up more processing plants. We don't have enough of that, and that's a frightening thing. That's a food security issue.
Well, that as well is also an opportunity to diversify all the different opportunities for ag and animal growth and animal husbandry as well, and to get those to market as well. Higher value, more organic, less. I don't want to throw it's like it's a bad thing, but corporate. The scaled up version of industrial farming, when you have a lot of opportunity to create a vibrant agricultural sector, and with all of the support systems that are there in the market, it might be a nice little add-on, and see how it grows.
Yeah, I think so, and I think there's been, there's been a big push and a lot of new attention to that very thing. So I think we'll see a lot of positive things coming out of that. I certainly plan to advocate for that.
Well, good. Let's talk about Ellen a little more.
Ellen.
We do this rapid fire. Favorite TV show?
Gosh, that's so hard. I've been binging on Netflix, so it's really hard for me to say. But I just finished Heartland.
Okay.
Love that.
Do you have a favorite growing up TV show that you couldn't miss? This was a weekly you have to do. What was that?
Love Boat.
Did you really? Love Boat.
Oh, I loved that. I wanted to be, and I'm trying to think of her name. What was her name?
Lauren Tees?
Oh, no.
No.
I can't remember her name, but she was the cruise director.
Oh, Julie McCoy.
Julie McCoy.
I knew who you were talking about.
I couldn't come up with it.
I thought the actress name was Lauren Tees.
Okay, yeah. So, it's been a long time ago, so I'm not
Julie
remembering.
McCoy.
Oh, I wanted to be her.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She had the best job in the world.
Favorite movie?
Gosh.
If you had to go home and watch one on Netflix tonight, what would you be? I want to watch this tonight.
Favorite movie?
In a rough week.
I could say The Godfather, but that would be a terrible sentiment because that's not really true. But
it's a great movie, though.
I really do.
Well, for down here,
That's what I was going to say.
I think people want to know that there's a darker side to Ellen Campbell. You're really nice, and they want to know that you can pull the trigger.
When I get home tomorrow, I'm going to watch The Godfather.
There you go. Well, what do you like about The Godfather?
It shows you kind of the seedy side of things. Yeah,
Okay.
there are parts of it that you think, wow, do people really live like that? Is that really a possibility? But then you unfortunately recognize that there is some truth to that as well. But
Favorite book, or one are you reading now?
I haven't had a lot of time to read a lot right now.
I'm sure.
I like The Hunger Games.
Okay. Okay. Favorite place to visit? Vacation spots. Where would you want to go if you could go? Where would you, if session ended, and it will end probably next Saturday. Sorry, Senate guys, the House is getting out of here. If you could go magically anywhere in the world, what would it be? Where would it be?
Well, so I really enjoyed St. Thomas.
Okay.
And I also really liked Puerto Rico.
Okay, so Caribbean. I like the Caribbean. I like when you get off the plane in St. Thomas, they bring around a tray of rum.
Maybe that's why we like it. I don't know. It's certainly a warm welcome.
Instantly right there. Favorite sport teams? Do you have any favorite? Do you follow any sports?
Yes, I do. So I like the Dallas Cowboys.
That's unfortunate.
I get that sometimes.
Good.
I'm a big UVA fan.
Okay. Okay. Football, basketball?
Both.
Everything UVA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ellen, it's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more. We wish you the very best here from the VIP podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple.
Okay.
Tell all your friends, of course, back home.
Absolutely.
And we wish you the very best throughout the rest of the session. And good luck.
Thank you.
In your primary. Is it a primary?
It is.
Against John Avoli, and that's June 20th.
June 20th.
June 20th, exciting stuff.
5 days before my birthday. It'll be a great present.
Okay. Well, she's so positive. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. It's Chris Saxman of the VIP Podcast, brought to you by VCTA, the Broadband Association of Virginia and Virginia Free, of which I am its executive director. Thanks for joining us.